The first one we're going to do is the squat jump. So that's going to be a plyometric exercise. One of the reasons I selected it is because in volleyball, this kind of mimics a common movement pattern you'll see in volleyball, particularly with outside hitters where they're doing a lot of plyometric work, where there's usually a preparatory phase and then explosive jumping movement, especially in hitting. So this is one of the reasons I selected it. Uniquely, this exercise is also a 3-joint movement. So it's going to incorporate movement at the ankle, the knee, and the hips. And also the focus of strengthening, it's going to address the glute, the hip region, as well as the lower legs. So not lower legs, I should say, well, upper and lower legs. So the quadriceps muscle group, as well as posterior lower leg, like gastroc and soleus. Additionally, with the quadriceps muscle group, it's going to target that as well. I also like this exercise because it includes a concentric and eccentric phase. So concentric being with the explosive upward movement, and then eccentric is going to require that controlled eccentric loading. So it does require stability as well. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate it for you, and then I'm going to have you do it. Okay. So the first thing you're going to go ahead and do with the squat, this isn't going to be like what we did in the functional movement screen. This is not going to be a deep squat. It's just going to be a standard squat, typically with the thighs just above, parallel to the ground. You're going to start with your feet just about outside hips, outside of the width of your hips. As far as toes, I would say have them comfortably or naturally turned out. You don't want to focus on super having them toes perfectly aligned, because that might cause some internal rotation and discomfort. Just natural, outward, comfortable turning out of the toes. You'll have your hands behind your head, and you're just going to get in a squat position. So nice and comfortable, a nice squat position. Make sure you're nice and tall on your upper body, kind of like a sternal raise, right? Nice flexion of the hip. So this is going to require dorsiflexion of the ankle, flexion of the knees, and flexion of the hip, all right? During that explosive movement, it's going to be extension across all 3 joints. So with that, nice, just like that. And what you're going to do is from this, you're going to spring up through the toes. So through here, you're just going to spring up and land back down. Spring up and land back down. Spring up and land back down. All right, it's a low intensity exercise, but if you're out of shape like myself, it might feel more like a moderate to high. But typically, it's going to be low intensity. Do you have any questions?
No.
Okay, so we'll trade places. I'm going to have you get into your phase. Yep, so you're just going to get a nice natural squat with the femur just above parallel to the ground. Okay, very good. Make sure you're nice and comfortable. Nice sternal raise. Good, a little bit more flexion. Very good. And you're going to do 3 continuous up and down. All right? So 1, 2, 3. Very good. Any problems or pain?
No.
Okay, good. So that's pretty good. A couple things we're going to look for. When it comes to the most distal joint, like the ankle, you want to make sure that they can achieve appropriate dorsiflexion, right? Getting into that nice deep squat. Also, knee valgus. So when they're coming down and landing, or just as they're starting to come up, you want to make sure that that knee isn't collapsing inward. So knee valgus is something we would typically look for. Also, this is going to require a lot of strength in the glutes for that explosive hip extension. So if there's an inability to kind of really get themselves up off the ground, that might address some issues with weak glute exercises, or glute strength, excuse me. And then also a weight shift. Some athletes will be stronger in one leg than the other, and they'll have a preferential shift to push off the ground. But you did a pretty good job, I would say. Any problems with that?
No.
Okay. So a modification to that would be with weights. They could have a weighted vest. They could also have, there's some equipment that you can have resistance bands that they can be holding on to. We're a little limited in our resources, so what we'll do is I've got these weights.
Okay.
Do you have any problems in your shoulder? Are you comfortable holding these back here?
Yes.
Okay, so go ahead, you have to be holding your head, but just comfortable behind. Very good. Any problems with that?
No.
No problem with the shoulder? Okay, so same thing. Go ahead. When you're ready, you're going to go down. So this will be a modification to kind of challenge them a little bit. And you're going to push up powerfully through those toes. Very good. Okay, very good. Any problems with that?
No.
Okay, very good. So that would be a challenge to the squat jump. Of course, you can include more of a challenge by introducing more resistance or more weight, things like that. Again, things we would look for when we're introducing more of a challenge. Again, stability. Are they going to be well balanced? Also that knee valgus. You did a pretty good job. You did self-correct. There was a little bit slight knee valgus on the right. Very minimal, but again, it corrected pretty quickly. And again, stability is required, especially for that eccentric loading, that downward phase. Very nice. Okay, so we did a lateral view, and then we're going to kind of readjust here at the space we've got to do an anterior view of the squat jump. So if you don't mind going ahead and doing what we just did, remember you want to get your squat, hands behind the head, starting in your squat position, so there's going to be no counter movement to this. They're starting the squat position, nice and tall, right? And whenever you're ready, let's get you 3 in a row if you can. 1, 2, 3. Very, very good. No problems with that?
No.
Okay, we're going to add resistance to that. Same thing. Let me know if you have any problems with your shoulder, holding these back behind your head. Okay, so same thing. Very, very good. And so when we introduce a little bit more resistance, there is a tendency to have, see those knees kind of come in just a little bit, just a very, very minimal valgus collapse. All right, very good. So the next one we're going to do is going to be the jump and reach. So with this, like I said, a lot of these exercises that I selected for this subject, because they're a volleyball player, are going to mimic or reproduce a lot of the movement patterns they're going to do in their sport. So something in common with the jump and reach, you'll see is very commonly when they're training, is for blocking, where they're going to jump up and block. So we're going to reproduce a similar motion with the jump and reach. So the first thing you want to do is arm swing is going to be important. Similarly to the previous exercise, this is also going to be multi-joint across the ankle, the knees, and the hip. We're also going to incorporate the shoulders, but the power is going to be coming from the lower body. All right, so first thing you want to do is into your starting position. So you can see, I'm just going to, I'll face you so you can see a little bit better. First thing we'll do is there's going to be 4 phases to this. You're going to have a preparatory phase, you're going to have your takeoff phase, airborne, and then your landing phase. So with that, I'm going to kind of break it down. So when you're getting into your preparatory phase, there's going to be a counter movement with this exercise. So when you're getting into your preparatory phase, that counter movement is when you're going to be swinging your arms back. Make sure you have adequate arm swing, all right? Then you're going to have the takeoff, similar to how you did, where you're jumping up through, all right? The airborne phase is going to be when the feet come off the ground. The second both feet come off the ground, you initiate the airborne, and then the landing phase, that's going to be when the feet make contact with the ground again. So that's that 4-phase part. So with that, I'm not very coordinated, but I'm going to do my best to adequately demonstrate it, and it's going to be repeated. So you'll see this when they do blocking exercises. So you'll come down, I guess I'll do it just like this. So you're going to come down just like that, and you're reaching. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'll have you do the same thing, okay? So you should be familiar with this exercise when you're doing blocking drills, I assume, right?
Yes.
Pretty common, okay. So 4 phases, right? Preparatory, that counter movement, right? Then you're gonna have the takeoff, the airborne, and then the landing. This does, similar to the previous exercise, require some stability on landing. Okay, so whenever you're ready, I'll have you do 3 if you'd like. 1, 2, 3. Very good, you're almost reaching the ceiling. So that's pretty good. And also you get into like a really, really nice deep flexion. So that's pretty good. Very, very good. A couple things we're looking for: adequate arm swing. That's going to help with momentum, getting them upwards. Also center of gravity. Making sure that center of gravity is directly over their base. This is a vertical movement. There should be very little forward motion or backward motion or side to side. There should actually be none. This is a vertical jump. Also, when you're landing, that part of that stability component is going ahead and absorbing those ground reaction forces. You don't want to land with like a locked knee or anything like that. So very good. Any problems with that?
No.
Okay, good. Very good. Okay, the second part of this, we're going to remember with these exercises, we're doing the simple, basic, fundamental version of it, and then we're adding some resistance or adding a little bit more of a challenge. So what we've done is, again, we're a little limited with our equipment, but we've got ankle weights. So you can either put them in ankle weights, a weighted vest, things like that, to kind of add a little bit more of a challenge. So what we'll do is we'll actually have you do an anterior view of it and then a lateral view too, so we can appreciate any discrepancies that we might see.
Okay.
Okay? Let's see if you can get like 1 to 5, whatever you're most comfortable with. This is a little bit more of a challenge.
Okay.
Okay? Very good. Okay, good. And then we'll do an anterior view if you don't mind as well. I'm actually going to stand a little bit over here so I can appreciate that. Very good. Okay, very, very good. Okay, so again, a couple of things we're looking for. We want to make sure that the knees are maintaining alignment, right? We don't want them locking on landing. As far as absorption of energy and the ability to exert that maximal force On the way out, really good job. I would probably decrease the time that they're in that that landing phase, when they're really, really down there and like really deep hip flexion. I'd probably decrease the time just a little bit, Otherwise, very, very, very nice job.
Thank you.
All right. So the last one we're gonna do is the alternate leg push off. So with that, kind of like it sounds, it'll be an alternating motion between each leg when you're gonna be jumping and pushing away. I'm gonna kind of walk you through it. There's a couple phases. Again, this is a multi-joint exercise. You're gonna be using ankle, right, knee, and hip. So with that, you're gonna start off with whichever leg you prefer. It can be right or left. And I'll bring this one up. Okay, similar to the jump and reach, there's gonna be some phases to this as well. You're gonna have the prep phase, you're gonna have the jumping phase, and then there's gonna be alternate when you are gonna swap legs, and then the landing phase. Similar with all the exercises that we've done, there has to be a stability component to this too when you're landing. So what we'll do is I'm gonna walk you through it. First thing you'll do, pick a leg, any leg, whichever you prefer, you're gonna start off on, okay? And so with that, you're gonna start just like this, and there's gonna be a propulsion phase where you're gonna push off. All right, so you're gonna push off and alternate. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so you can continue doing that. Ways to increase as far as intensity or the challenge is you can have a weighted vest, you can do ankle weights again, you can also increase the height of your box that you're pushing off of, as well as decreasing your rest time. So to begin with, right, as you're doing this, you can go up, right? If you want to decrease the time to increase intensity, you would just do this. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so any questions on that?
No.
Okay, so I'll have you do a lateral view here because we're working with a small space here, and then we'll swap here for an anterior view. Things that are important when you're doing this exercise. Make sure that you're landing softly. You want to make sure when you're landing you have a little bit of flexion in that hip. You don't want to land straight down and accidentally load that spine. You're going to feel it. So landing softly, maintain nice soft flexion in the hip so you can absorb those ground reaction forces appropriately. Also, like I said, for challenges, increasing the box height or decreasing the time between each alternating push-off. Okay? So I'll have you do about 5 of these.
Okay.
Okay? I'll have you ready. There you go. No problem. So it's going to be actually continuous. Right? Yeah, so when you push off, you're going to bring that opposite leg down. You got it. There you go. Very good. How you doing?
Good.
Good? Okay, very good. Things we want to look for. There's a stability to this component similar to all the other exercises. Things you want to look for is when they're pushing off, that valgus collapse. So it's kind of easier to see here, but that valgus collapse, you don't want that, right? You want straight motion. This is a vertical jump. So remember, center of gravity, you're going to keep it, actually for this, you do want to keep it somewhat forward to avoid landing straight on that back. But control that center of gravity. While it'll be a little bit in front of your base, control it so you don't fall too far forward. Okay, very good. And do you mind coming on this side? Because I think we can get more of an anterior view. Okay. So same thing, and actually what I can do is we can, let's see. I'm going to put these on, is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
So these are going to be little ankle weights here. Excuse my reach. Doing okay?
Yep.
Okay, and then you want to put that other one right up here? Perfect. So they're a little snug. All right, very good. So then we'll get an anterior view of that. Very good. Any problems? Okay, good. Very good. So things again, same thing we want to look for is making sure when they land, they're able to appropriately absorb the ground reaction forces by having a little bit of a forward lean. All right, also, I think most notably is a very, very minimal valgus collapse, primarily on that right leg, which was also reproduced when we did a previous exercise. That right leg tends to be a little bit more of a valgus collapse than the left. All right, but that's the end of it. Very, very nice job. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. No
and
problem.
coming down late. I really, really appreciate it. So that's going to conclude our 3 exercises as part of our CAP 3 for lower body. All right. Thank you so much, Ria.
Thank
you.